let's do a page one analysis for your movie Electric Love.
Sure.
And it's a feature film. It's won many awards, correct?
It did well in the film festival circuit, yes.
Great.
Yes.
Excellent. In this script, we immediately are introduced to Emma Warren, and she's sitting in her car. We don't know too much about her. We just know she's in her 20s.
Sure.
She's putting makeup on. Can you talk about why it was sort of a vague description in the beginning?
Sure. And before I even answer, I'm very worried that screenwriters are going to be like, you were always meant to do a character description. For some reason, we don't exactly do that all the time. Possibly because it's Erin and I, and so we're the ones creating the script and we know exactly what we're looking for. And, we know that the character will be described via her dialogue. You're absolutely going to understand who this person is via what she's about to say. And what she looks like, we're kind of open to some different options there. So I don't really have like a concrete, this is why we don't do it. I'm probably leaning on, like I said, I don't know that this is exactly like the writer's correct way to do it, but we're just leaning into our instinct of like, we know what's going to happen with this character. So we just kind of write her age, and maybe at best we'll write one little marker, like a notification of something that she does or is wearing. But other than that, we just kind of we try and let the dialogue just get us there, and the setting to get us there for the script reader.
Okay, so she's in a busy city, maybe LA, putting makeup,
Yes.
parked in her car that's stationary,
Yes.
talking to herself in the mirror.
Yes.
Emma Southern drawl, pardon me, sir, are you the handsome gentleman whose photos I came across upon my Samsung Galaxy? Sorry, that's so bad, I can't do it. No, okay, don't make... So, Emma has a Southern drawl.
Sure.
I'm going to leave that to interpretation of somebody else, so I'll just do Emma. Pardon me, sir, are you the handsome gentleman whose photos I came across on my Samsung Galaxy? Now, quick question.
Sure.
Is that because you have product placement?
I think that we were probably hoping to get product placement on the Samsung.
Okay.
We did not. So we changed that to cellular device.
Oh, you did?
later
Okay,
on.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So,
great. Now, did you write this opening dialogue, or did your writing partner, Erin?
oh my goodness. You always think you're going to know exactly which words you wrote and which ones your partner wrote. And I'm like, who did write that? Whose idea was it that she's putting on this little accent? I want to say it was Erin's, because really the genesis of Electric Love was with Erin. He had all types of Tinder experiences that he told me about. And I was like, oh, I didn't really have those experiences. And that was, I think that's just the plight of men versus women in a busy city where dating apps exist. And so it was his idea to do a sort of dating app focused comedy, rom-com. And I came on board and I was like, oh, it sounds like a lot of fun. Let's do it. I did my best, to try and like breathe like my own personal point of view into the Emma Warren or any of the female characters. But I do want to say it was Erin. I think it was Erin. He's very fun like that. So he has her do this like Southern twang a couple times as like a silly character thing that she does every now and then.
So like a Blanche Dubois kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I was like, pardon me, sir, are you the handsome man?
Okay, I see.
Mia does a great job of it. I listened to her do it a lot. I was like, oh, that's a good one.
Excellent. Okay, we'll have you read it. So then after this opening, she takes out her phone and she records herself saying, and then Emma, and then she says it in, I think, her normal voice. And
Normal
she says,
voice, yeah.
This is Emma Warren on Friday, December 3rd at approximately 4 p.m. If I am raped or murdered, it was probably William from Tinder. Last name, I don't know. He's in my phone.
Right.
So she's leaving sort of an electronic footprint of where she is, who she's going with. Okay. Can you talk about the juxtaposition of the opening lines and how you're bringing comedy to the page and you already kind of have us laughing? So you're doing that, but then at the same time, you have this stark reality of like, oh, whoa, that's kind of serious. She's like basically saying, if I'm found dead, here's who might have done it.
Yeah, and it's like, it's kind of, have you ever watched a comedian, I think maybe it's Jim Jeffries or someone, they talk about, have you ever read like a transcription of a comedian's show? And when you're just reading it, without all the pomp and frill of being on stage, it can be a little like stark. You're reading, you're like, holy moly, he said what? And it's kind of almost how I felt when you were reading the digital footprint line. I was like, we wrote that? But no, like in the movie, it's funny, and it's all drawn from things that I've heard, like stories I've heard, like true anecdotes of like girlfriends of mine who maybe they're going to go on a date at some bar like across town, and they want someone to know where they're at. And it's kind of like it's smart. It's, I hope it comes off as cute. I think it's kind of funny because she's being very, silly. Like if she really was fearing for her life, she obviously wouldn't go in there. So there's a little bit of that comedy aspect of like, just in case, it's a wild world out there on digital dating apps. But yeah, I think that there's like some comedy there and also some levity we're all understanding that dating apps can be, trash, really, really terrible time depending on who you swipe with.
Right. Okay. After this, you introduce us to a parking enforcement officer. And again, there's no character description. Do you think that having no character description hurts or helps with casting?
Well, with the casting, I obviously lean really heavily on these like brand decks that I was telling you about for each movie that we're going to make. And so I had this deck that really told exactly who it is we're looking to cast. Now, again, I think that that's probably not not common with writers. Like there's a procedural way to do everything, and we're probably just a little bit non-traditional when it comes to that. But at the end of the day, I think that you can have a conversation. You can talk to the agent and be like, so this is who we're looking to cast. Like, can we get one of your talents? We're looking at this person and this person. And then they're going to read my pitch deck and see all the branding and coloring. And then they're going to read, like, maybe I've isolated a few pages and I've like, this is the character. So obviously the agent's going to read the script. They already have the client in mind that I've asked for. And so when they read the dialogue, they know exactly what it is we're looking for because they're thinking of the client that we've asked for. I don't know why we don't include descriptions. I think we just kind of like to leave it really action based in the non-dialogue spaces.
What are the questions that we ask ourselves that make us want to turn to the second page?
Well, hopefully they want to know if Emma's going to get out of this parking ticket and how her date, this guy, we don't know. I mean, she's going on a date where she's leaving a voice memo for whomever might find her phone. So I hope that people are like, all right, she might be going on a disaster date. She just had a terrible situation happen out on the curb with this parking attendant. And so what kind of attitude is she going to have when she even goes on this date? So I think there's a little something there to still uncover for the viewer and the reader.
Is this still the opening of the movie?
It is.
Okay.
Yes. Unlike Val, this is the lock script and it didn't really change other than a little bit of improv on set. Sometimes there were lines that were said in a certain way. Like one of my favorite lines is said by Kyle Howard. And it's the character Emma is going over to his house and she knocks on the wrong door. And he comes out and he says, that's my mom's door. Come over to this door. And she's like, oh, sorry, okay. And then she goes in and he's like, I'm just kidding. And the original line was something like, I don't live with my mom, but one of our gaffer thought he said, I don't have a mom, which is ludicrous. Like everyone like literally has a mom. So he ends up saying like, I'm just kidding. I don't have a mom. And I was just like, it made everyone on set laugh. And it still makes me laugh to this day. So I was like, oh, that stays in there. So I love a little bit of improv on set. It was great.
And plus it's funny too, because she's going on this date and then she's like, wait a minute. He lives either next to his mom?
Exactly.
Wow, okay.
So there's like, first he's living with his mom. He doesn't have a mom. What's going on here? It's like full on.
And what do you love about this first page?
I think that it sets up the tone that we're going to be with Emma. First of all, we're going to be with Emma quite a bit, and she's going to be struggling. You kind of see some actions from her. She's silly at heart. Obviously, she's doing this Southern drawl and kind of being fun with it. She's leaving this sort of ridiculous voice memo, and then she's kind of having to deal with this parking attendant who's going to give her some grief over that. And I just like that it really does foreshadow what's going to happen in the rest of the film. She's looking for love. She's looking for a real connection. She's a light, silly, fun person. She makes mistakes, and she continues to make mistakes throughout the entire script, just like she made a mistake in not feeding the meter when she parked, and that's like the first page is actually like this perfect rendition of what we're going to be seeing for her character in the entire film.
And so, forgive me, so she's in the big city. I take it she's not initially from wherever this is, whether it's LA?
No, I think she's always lived in Los Angeles. I remember that. I don't think that we really get into like where she's from or not. And the Southern drawl thing is she's just like kind of joking around. Like she's just playing a little silly time with herself.
Right. So she's fun. She doesn't take herself too seriously, but at the same time she knows I'm going on this date and I better just make sure that everything's okay, so I'll leave this.
Right. She's a little bit neurotic. She's a little bit silly out there. She's kind of like how any of us could be over the course of a month. She just happens to be it in like 1 minute of for the opening of the film.
Is there anything you wish you would have done differently with the opening?
With the opening? I can't really think of anything. In fact, as we were chatting about it, I thought how great it is that everything that, how Emma, the actress that we cast, her name is Mia, however, everything that the character of Emma does in the opening is perfectly reflective of what we're going to be experiencing throughout the rest of the film. And I do think that even the parking attendant, scuffle where she's sitting at this meter, she hasn't paid the meter, and the Eric Griffin character, who's the parking attendant, he says like, well, you should have paid the meter. She goes through a lot of that where she could have actually just done this one little thing and not been in this predicament later. She could have just had this one conversation with this guy that she really liked and not ended up thinking that he was doing all these, terrible things behind her back. There was a lot of that where she just could have helped herself so easily, but she didn't. And so that's very indicative of her as a character throughout.
And just on a personal note, have you ever had a confrontation with a parking enforcement person here in LA?
My gosh, I'm sure I have. They're terrifying. No, I think that if I've gotten a ticket, and I have gotten a few tickets, they're just proudly red and white sitting on the windshield waiting for my return. No meter made in sight, or no meter human in sight.
I think we actually had one that let us go. We were doing an interview. We didn't have a place to interview the person, so we interviewed them in their car, and the person was going to give us a ticket.
Oh, so lucky.
And we somehow charmed them out of it, and they were very nice. But yeah, I know that's... Yeah. But it's a great opening, because she gets in this argument with this person. Is it established whether they're male or female?
I don't think it is. In fact, we were split. We were we were right down the middle of who we would be casting, because we had we knew we wanted to go with a comedian. We thought like this role is 100% going to be for a comedian, and we knew we were going to bookend that character. It was going to be an issue in the beginning, and she comes back in the end, with a little lesson learned there. And so we were really split. It could go either male or female.
And she gets in this argument, and then the meter person ends up kind of like putting it back on her, saying, well, you're actually the jerk, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So. And she is being a little bit of a jerk. I mean, he's being a teensy little bit of a jerk, but it's also his job, so you just have to, that's his job. She was sitting in a meter that was expired, so she's out there yelling at him and following him down the sidewalk. She's being a little bit of a jerk, and he says it, so good for him. Stand up for the meter humans of the world. They're not always the bad guys.
Right.